Good morning. This is Jabbar Al-Ubaidi. I know most of our colleagues from around the world, and also my colleagues and friends from Bridgewater State University and the community. But if you happen you don't know me, my name is Jabbar Al-Ubaidi. I'm professor of media studies and communication technologies, and also the academic director of global programs. This is our third day of celebrating the International Education Week. This week actually was introduced in 2000 by then President Bill Clinton, and then the State Department, and also the U.S. Department of Education sustained this week. So literally throughout the United States, we celebrate this week. We celebrate our achievement, and also we discuss the challenges and how we can overcome these challenges, for really one and only purpose is to make sure that we reach out to our students, to the communities, and enhance learning and teaching. And this is not just on local level, it is actually on international level. That's why our speaker today will address the international education and education in general in the United States to give us some highlights. And I want to just mention a few things that, as I said, this is recorded. Caption will be provided, a link to everybody so that can secure the accessibility and equity in terms of the information exchange. And also, I would like to thank Susan Williams. She really worked hard since the last probably 3 weeks on making all this publicity. And also the two coordinators that work with me in Jordan and also in Africa, Dr. Khaled Shugran from Jordan Press Association, and also Chol Oki, he's from South Sudan. He coordinated the effort with our colleagues in Africa. So I'm very honored to have all of you around, and we're gonna talk very soon. And so what will happen is you can maintain your questions until President Clark will finish. And then we have 5 minutes for my colleagues, Jan Kerry. She is the Associate Director of International Students and Services for Students and Scholars. She will highlight some of the important points that related to the international engagement and global engagement. And then we'll open it to the journalists for their questions. And President Clark, because he has other engagement at 11:45, he will leave us, but we will continue until noontime. At this point, I would like to introduce our speaker, President Fred Clark, the one who really advanced student success at Bridgewater State University since he joined Bridgewater State University as a capacity as the Vice President for External Affairs. And also under his leadership, BSU aspires to become a national leader in removing barriers to academic access, providing the necessary support to help each and every student grow and succeed, and eliminating achievement gaps among all student groups. When we say all student groups, this is by its nature as a statement, it's not just local students, not just American students, this is for international students. And so it is a mission, and that's why under President Clark leadership, we established the Minnick Institute for Global Engagement, which is really the hub for all international activities. And with that, I would like to ask President Fred Clark to start his remarks.
Jabbar, thank you very much for the invitation to be here. I want to wish everyone a happy International Education Week. It's great to see all of our faculty on the call, our staff, folks from the Minnick Institute. Thank you for your leadership. Wing Kai To. And I see my friends that are international journalists here, that many of which have been on this campus, and it's great to see you as well. I'm happy to just take a few minutes to talk about international education and global engagement as well, because I think that this is a time for renewal. I believe that it's a time for renewal. And at Bridgewater State, we don't really need to renew our commitment, but I think the United States of America certainly does. So that's what I wanted to talk about, a little bit about the United States of America, where I think we are, where we're going, and then just a bit on Bridgewater State. And I know folks on this call are already fully aware, and we're probably all like-minded as well. I don't think in the past 4 years, to be perfectly blunt and honest, that the United States of America had a commitment to global engagement or to international education at the federal level. I believe that the rhetoric that we've heard from the beginning through the Trump administration has been extremely damaging and hurtful. And it has real world consequences. And it's had consequences on this campus when a president of the United States demeans folks from a Central American country, from Mexico, or of a particular religious persuasion. It has consequences in K-12 and education. It has consequences here at Bridgewater State University. We've had to assure our students that they remain safe. We've marched, Bridgewater Stands United, to demonstrate our unity against that kind of rhetoric. So unfortunately, it wasn't just rhetoric over the past 4 years that we had to push back against. It was a systematic dismantling of the State Department as well. The State Department is a true shell of its former self. What we saw under President Obama, President Bush, and beyond. This administration has not made a commitment to the State Department, and it really has disinvested across the board in the State Department. What we've witnessed in this country over the past 4 years, I believe, is a struggle between global engagement versus isolationism. And the results of the last election, I believe, underscore the importance that the American public ascribes to global engagement. The United States is back. Our standing has been diminished for sure, and we have work to do to repair it. I remember just probably at the beginning of the Trump administration being in Cambodia, or I was with our friends in Jordan on and off campus, and our friends wondered about who is the United States of America? Maybe you're not who we thought you were. This America First concept closed a door to the world. It didn't open doors, it closed a door to the world. We were withdrawing from the world stage, and we were hurting our friends along the way. And that's had an impact in terms of international engagement. The United States State Department just released a report. They call it the Open Doors Report. It's an annual report about international engagement. Chronicle of Higher Ed wrote about it today. And they basically have analyzed the impact of the last 4 years of international engagement. And from 2016 to 2019, the number of international students in the United States declined by 8%. And just for the fall of 19, just in that 1 year, by 2%. That was pre-pandemic. Since the pandemic, of course, and this makes sense not just in the United States, but around the world, international student enrollment has declined by 43%. Yes, international students are taking courses online. 40,000 of them have deferred their studies to a future year. But it's going to be difficult for the United States to get back to its pre-pandemic, pre-Trump administration position. Why? Because there's increased competition from other countries, whether it's in Europe or Canada or within the home countries of our international students. And we haven't helped ourselves by increasing the barriers to entrance here in the United States by making visas stricter and by reducing work opportunities through work restrictions. Those have undermined the attractiveness of the United States. And it's going to take years, I think, for us to get back to where we were. I fully expect, though, that we will. The Open Doors report also talked about the two major senders of international students to the United States, China and India. Those two countries account for 50% of all of the international students currently in the United States. There's been no growth in terms of the number of students coming from China, but over the previous 10 years, the number of Chinese students have tripled here in the United States. India, the other major sender, has declined for 1 year by 4%. It hasn't helped that the President of the United States has singled out China for special scrutiny and restriction. The get tough on China policy has significantly hurt the attractiveness of the United States for Chinese students to come to the United States. They may not feel as though it's safe for them to be here. And then the student work program, I believe it's called the optional policy training program, was really incentivized under President Obama, and really particularly for those that were studying science, technology, engineering, and math. Although the Trump administration did not curtail that program, there's an extremely hostile narrative in regards to it, where the Trump administration has essentially said that international students that work in the United States are displacing American workers. That has scared employers here in the United States and scared them away from supporting that program. It has real world consequences. And of course, colleges themselves have curtailed their own international recruitment prior to the pandemic and certainly during it, and have been looking in their own backyards for international students. But those international students are not there in the same numbers as they were. So we might look to local high schools for international students that have decided to take classes in local high schools. And to do that, you have to get an F1 visa. F1 visas are down 15% since 2016. So the pipeline is not there, even in this country, for international students already here. And less international students, this is just a message that the federal government has not received. Less international students is bad for our economy. Just last year, $41 billion was spent by international students in the United States in pursuit of their studies. Having international students is good for the economy, in addition to good for diversity and other aspects I'll talk about. And I just want you to know, we don't always like to beat up on our national administration, but we've been happy to do it here at Bridgewater State because we've disagreed with just about every international policy initiative and regulation that's come forward. Most recently, we worked very closely with Wing Kai-to and his staff, the effort by our U.S. Department of Homeland Security to promulgate regulations regarding F and J visa procedures. It's not only what we think a racist attempt and a discriminatory attempt to discourage, frustrate, complicate, and make more expensive the visa process for international students, particularly students from targeted countries. And I say targeted because there is a list, but it makes no sense from a practical perspective. They have reduced the fixed time period for admission to the United States for academic studies to 2 years. 2 years. Now, Bridgewater State, I think everyone knows, higher education generally is a 4-year program. We use the term, our state universities wrote a letter to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security objecting to that regulation, and we use the word nonsensical. It's nonsensical to be restricting international students to 2 years. And by the way, yes, you can try to get an extension, but it is very, very difficult and practically impossible from a administrative procedure to get in any kind of a timely way an extension. We don't think, and I'm happy to say this, and I think the American public agrees with me, we don't think that the Trump administration values diversity inclusion, and equity. It hasn't demonstrated that over 4 years. It has not demonstrated that in terms of international education or global engagement. But it's a very different story here at Bridgewater State. Our commitment to international education, as I said before, is not new, but this is a good time to renew our commitment. It was only 10 years ago that we established our Minnick Center for Global Engagement. And it had a space in our library, but 3 years ago, we dedicated the Minnick Institute for Global Engagement and gave it an address. International Education and Engagement on this campus now has an address and an identity. It needed to have that because we wanted to lift it up as a focal point for the rich array of international research, scholarship, learning, cultural activities that our faculty lead here at Bridgewater, and to incentivize the synergies across different areas of specialization as well. That dedication has only grown stronger since I've been a part of the Bridgewater State community. And by the way, I think everyone knows I graduated from here. International engagement, when I was a student a million years ago, really only was involved with one country. So we've gone global since then. And we understand the importance of a global education to a liberal arts education. We value that here at Bridgewater State. You cannot receive a true broad-based liberal arts education without having a global component to it. We want our students to understand that they're global citizens. We want them to be culturally competent. And by the way, employers, particularly employers in Massachusetts, want our graduates to have that cultural competency and global citizenship perspective. They value it, and so do we. So COVID has disrupted kind of our normal flow of business. We obviously had students that were overseas. We've had international students here at home. I do want you to know, and I'm very proud of the response from many of the folks on this call, Mike Sandy, Wing Kai To, Jen Curry, and all of the folks at the Minnick Institute, Jabbar El-Obeidi, to helping those students either to come home or to shelter in place and be supported. And of course, the students who are here on campus were supported as well. We've had to shift our student support services to a telecommuting option and a telehealth option. We've had to increase our cleaning protocols, our safety protocols, our dining efforts, check-ins for testing and for contact tracing. Everything we've done has been changed, but not our commitment to our international students or to global engagement. That hasn't changed at all. Now, we certainly could buckle down and maybe go into a shelter mode and wait for the storm to pass. And at Bridgewater State, that's not who we are and it's not what we do. We're not waiting for the storm to pass. We're boldly moving forward with courage and determination. That's what Bridgewater has done every year in its 180-year history. It's what we continue to do. You can have a mindset of just surviving the pandemic, or you can have a mindset of how can we thrive within the pandemic. And at Bridgewater, in terms of international engagement, we've had the mindset of thriving. And what does that mean? It means shifting our support services to a virtual platform, as I just mentioned, and our international student and scholar services folks have done a wonderful job with that. It also has meant that we've been able to move our study abroad and advising to a virtual component. We don't have to stop advertising study abroad or making our students aware of opportunities because of the pandemic. We've just moved it online. We've also created, even in this environment, a global virtual internships. And those are internships we did not have before, where our students can do internships around the world by sitting in their own bedrooms or dining rooms or dorm rooms and providing scholarships to make all of that happen as well. We've also secured a rapid response collaborative online international learning lab where we've been able to pilot virtual course exchange in physical education by Dr. Karen Richardson at BSU with a partner in Japan. And we're working on another collaborative learning effort with Yonsei University in South Korea. Virtual course exchanges are something that we've talked about for many years, and the pandemic has allowed us to accelerate our efforts, and we're pleased that we've been able to do so. In addition, and this today is an example of it, we've been able to foster global programs, virtual events, and faculty opportunities, webinars, so that we can exchange ideas and information and understanding through a virtual platform. Racial justice has been another area that we've exchanged with our global partners, and democratic engagement as well. And the Mandela Fellows Program, which was cut in half by the Trump administration, but it is still there. We've been able to, through virtual platforms, stay in touch with our Mandela Washington Fellows as well. And we continue to try to secure global engagement grants as well. So this is not a time to retreat. This is a time to advance. That's what we've done at Bridgewater State. And I want to say that I'm optimistic that under the Biden administration, that we will reverse course and re-engage the world, open our doors once again, tear down any figurative walls that have been established over the last 4 years, renew our friendships in the world, and remind each other that we are interconnected, interdependent, and we are all global citizens. We'll do our part here at Bridgewater State. We'll support our new federal administration in reversing course and opening those doors. And I hope to be able to work with each one of you, both on campus and in your home countries, particularly our friends from Jordan, in doing all of that work together. Thank you very much, Jabbar.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have to say, President Clark served BSU in really different capacities and in many positions prior to his job as the president of the Bridgewater State University in July 2015. That include a member and chairman of the Board of Trustees, also vice chair of the Bridgewater State University Foundations. And he is always working with us as faculty, librarians, and staff, and students to achieve the high standards and excellence in teaching and learning. So thank you so much for that, and also for motivating all of us as a community of Bridgewater State University to really invite the world to BSU as well as take BSU to the world. I think this is a fine engagement. It's, yes, in the midst of the pandemic and coronavirus challenges. I would like to invite Jen just to give us 5 minutes about the services for scholars and for international students, and then we'll open it up for questions. We have journalists from around the world. We have Roger Yan Modi, Sawa Network, South Sudan, Eleni Andro, a print and online reporter, Ethiopia, our friend Charles Dung, journalist and activist, South Sudan. And we have also still Lilian Kivolo, Kenya, Kopoko Stewart, Front Page Africa, Liberia. And then we have from also South Africa, Ziki Miso. And we have 4 or 5 journalists from Jordan, led by our friend, journalist and Dr. Khalid Shugran and Hadi Shobaki and Abdul Karim Al-Wahsh. They know Bridgewater State University, and all of our friends here just to help Bridgewater, Mr. President, to achieve what you like us to achieve in terms of engagement and global engagement. And in honor of your responding to our request to talk, the journalists, we decided actually today to announce the establishment of the International Journalist Coalition. This is IJC. It will be the headquarters in Bridgewater State University. And then we have the founding president. This is they named me, but we have also the founding secretary is Dr. Khalid Shukran from Jordan Press Foundation. And the secretary founding is our friend Charles Dong, also from journalist from South Sudan. All journalists are members, free membership. We're going to send the bylaws and all the information to this. So congratulations on this. And thank you, President Clark, for providing us with this opportunity, because now we need to have people of letters and also the pen in journalists and whether it's in print or online to do their job, because this is important and this is our mission as educators, as journalists, and also as media with ethics and moral compass. Jen, I send it to you, my friend.
That deserves a round of applause, Jabbar. Wonderful. I look forward to supporting it. Excellent.
Congratulations, Jabbar. That sounds wonderful. Thank you. So Dr. Jabbar has asked me to talk just very briefly. I'm sure there's lots of questions, so I'll keep it brief. Just about the role of my office, which is the International Student and Scholar Services Office. So we really provide support for students and scholars from pre-application process all the way through application till after graduation. So President Clark, really touched on many of the issues that are impacting the work that we do right now. So pre-COVID looked very different than the work that we do now. So most of our programming and advising has been moved online. We're still able to support students and scholars coming to the US, which is, I think, in my opinion, a win as in compared to some of our peer institutions who were unable to support new students coming into the US. So we're still really in the midst of the Trump administration's damaging effects, as President Clark mentioned. We're just starting to see consulates open up around the globe. So we're starting to see visa appointments, open up for our students, and we're hopeful for the spring. But of course, the pandemic has curtailed a lot of those applications, and students are really deferring as they start to think about coming for the spring and the date gets closer. They're really wanting to defer their applications to the fall. So we are still supporting about 60% of our anticipated population or typical population that we would have on campus. So we still have students here. They're degree seeking students, either in graduate or undergraduate programs. They are exchange students who are here for 1 semester or 1 year. And we do have scholars on campus as well. So I would imagine the audience members would be interested in the scholar application. And we certainly have a full robust application for that, working with a faculty member that if anyone is interested in more information, they can either contact Dr. Jabbar or they can contact me afterwards. And that's something that we're hopeful as the borders reopen and the global health initiatives start to roll out and vaccines are developed and folks can move about the globe again, that we're able to support. And we're, of course, we're always happy to talk about any virtual opportunity programming, such as this opportunity that Jabbar has organized today, or additional faculty collaborations, anything that ISSS can do to support global engagement virtually, as well as moving forward in the future, we're happy to do. I think, we talked a little bit about how we supported students through the pandemic. That was a learning opportunity for us for sure. And so, moving into the spring semester, we work very closely with health and wellness services, supporting students and scholars on campus. We did have several students and scholars who were stuck in the United States for multiple months, waiting for flights home. So as President Clark mentioned, the Bridgewater response to that was fantastic. Everybody felt really included, supported. The communication efforts were amazing. So that was something that I was very proud of to be a part of. And hopefully we don't have to ever repeat that initiative, but we have certain protocols in place that if as the COVID numbers, if they uptick again, we're able to support students and scholars through any of the issues that may arise for them. Let's see. I think, we're in ISSS, as we're called, are just very much looking forward to the new administration moving through. As President Clark mentioned, there were a slew, an onslaught really of different immigration proposals. I am by no means an immigration attorney or an immigration policy expert, so we're very grateful for our networks and connections to help walk us through how best we can advocate for international students and scholars. I'm really looking forward to turning the page where we're not having to focus so much on the advocacy and we can get back to working directly with our scholars. So we're really excited about that, and we'll see what the new year brings for us. So if there's any questions on the application process or how we are supporting students and scholars, please let me know, and I'll turn that back over to you, Dr. Jabbar, so there's plenty of time for Q&A.
Thank you, Jen. And I would like also to recognize 3 journalists from Iraq. One of them actually worked for CNN for a while and now is a freelancer. My friend Hassan Al-Jaber, and also a scriptwriter from Baghdad University, Dr. Ban Jabbar, and also a documentary filmmaker and a writer, and he is actually the editor of his own journal and dealing with culture and education, Dr. Taha Al-Hashimi. So welcome. And please forgive me if I forgot to recognize any of my colleagues who honored our invitation to participate in this forum or webinar. Now I open it up to the floor. You have 2 options. You can put it in the chat and Jen and myself will monitor that, or you can have your question asked directly. Unmute yourself and ask your question. Now let's, with your permission, my friend, faculty and students, start with the journalist from abroad. Don't be shy. Do we scare you because we talk politics first related to education? So, President, yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yeah, first of all, I'm delighted to be part of this webinar. And I'm also very delighted to see President Clark and my great friend and Professor Winkai, Jabbar, and the rest of the faculty at BSU. I'm just going to be very brief, but first I must acknowledge the new assignment, Prof. Jabbar, that you've given me to be part of the Secretariat for International Journalist Coalition. It's such an honor to continue to work with you. And my question will go directly to President Clark, and perhaps if any one of you will build on his answer later on. But I would like to ask President Clark about, okay, you may have been involved with certain universities on the African continent, but I would like to ask if there are efforts or maybe plans to expand your collaboration or maybe engagement with more universities within Africa. For example, the University of Juba, which is in South Sudan, where I come from. I would like to know from President Clark what are some of the requirements, or what does it involve, for example, for universities that are outside of your engagement framework, and particularly with South Sudan, where I come from. I am a lot more interested, to see to it that Bridgewater State University and any of our universities in South Sudan, can have that partnership, in terms of academic research, in terms of cultural and maybe social exchanges. It's something that I would like to know, and that question goes directly to President Clark.
Well, thank you. It's good to see you. And thank you for being with us today. So the Minnick Institute has a strategic plan, which is part of our university strategic plan. And in early kind of iterations of that strategic plan, we have talked about expanding our BSU presence in sub-Saharan Africa. And there's a lot of reasons for us to do that. You know, we do have deep engagements, of course, you probably know this, in Cape Verde. We've had engagements in Lusophone speaking countries already in sub-Saharan Africa. But I remember a meeting I attended in the White House with the National Security Council under President Obama. And then we went over, the previous president, Bridgewater, and I went over to the State Department. And we were talking about the future of United States engagement in the world. And the Obama administration had identified Africa as the growth center of the next economic, social, cultural renaissance in the world. And they were encouraging deeper relationships there. Of course, I think we've been sidetracked by the Trump administration, but I do think that the Biden administration will renew that emphasis on the importance of Africa going forward. We would like to find support through the State Department, similar to what we found with the Mandela Fellows, to deepen our engagement and to help us to identify partners that will create the kind of vibrancy for our students, faculty, and staff that we need. You know, Bridgewater has never been in the habit of collecting partnerships for the sake of it. We investigate each other carefully to be sure that there'll be a benefit on both sides of that partnership, true vibrancy. So all I would say is that we're going through another strategic planning process now to update our previous strategic plan. I will look to Jabbar Al-Obaidi and Wing Kai To and our provost, Karim Ismaili, to help us set the course, hopefully, that I just described. And I would ask maybe Wing Kai To to add to any of the comments that I just made. But thank you for the question. Wing?
Very briefly, thank you, President Clark. I think we are trying to engage with our Mandela Fellows this year increasingly, so that we already hosted 99 Mandela Fellows, including Cho, our friend Cho from South Sudan. And definitely we are also, just coincidentally this morning, we were at a virtual student fair with students from Africa, you know, who might be interested in applying to Bridgewater State University. So we are actually recruiting students from the African continent to come to Bridgewater State to study in a variety of programs, including both undergraduate degrees and graduate degrees. Bridgewater State University is open to the world. We really encourage students from all over the world to apply to our university. So that's part of our mission. We also, as Jennifer said, we really welcome scholars from all over the world. Even before we develop any exchange agreement with any university, our door is open for visitors and also exchange scholars.
May I also add to that? So I think, again, why we're so looking forward to the new administration in January is because you may be well aware that Trump imposed multiple travel bans. He rolled out many immigration policies, and unfortunately, he targeted several African countries as part of one of his travel bans. So that's made our work a little harder in terms of physical mobility. So what's so wonderful about the IREC State Department Mandela program is because that's run by the State Department, they have the authority to supersede rules, and they are able to issue immigration documents for some of our scholars to get here. So that's been a wonderful opportunity for us in terms of us being able to forge inroads on our own as Biden comes into office and hopefully overturns a lot of these damaging policies. We'll start to see the world open up and move again. And so we're looking forward to seeing what opportunities we may have in some of these countries that have been, unfortunately, off limits to us for quite some time.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, next question, please. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, can I go ahead? Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, please. my friend.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the invite, Dr. Jabbar. It's good to see everybody, President Clark, Dr. Cho, Jenny, and everybody. I want to find out, I mean, with your plans, President Clark, to have a wider reach, you know, across the continent of Africa as well. Are there any solid plans to create a forum of some sort, you know, with your Mandela Fellows that have already, you know, been at Bridgewater State University? I think it would also be a great way to get people who already are doing stuff in different parts of the continent to be able to help the university advance the reach that it wants. So is there a plan for some form of forum or solid, I'm not going to call it an organization, but a forum, I'll call it that, you know, of Mandela Washington Fellows. I mean, the fellows that I know are fellows from 2019, of course, but I know that there were some amazing young Africans who are doing amazing things even now from previous years. So I think it would be worth your while and worth our while as well to create something of that sort. So I just wanted to find out if there are plans in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Wing Kai To to help me with this, but I know that there have been convenings already in person and through social media. Social media really is probably a perfect tool, particularly in this environment, until it's a little safer to see each other in person. But no, I think that that's exactly right. I think that the Mandela Fellows want to be a community of learners, and they want to also find ways to support each other, in addition to being connected to this great institution, Bridgewater State, and maybe helping us to imagine our role. They all together, including yourself, become really a great resource for us and for each other. So that makes perfect sense. I don't know if there's anything currently planned, which is why I'll ask Wing Kai To help me out.
I think the international network we have all over the world can always be a resource for all the global engagement work we do. We definitely have different mission for global engagement. Part of it is to really become a hub for knowledge exchange and academic collaborations. So our African Studies program and our Cape Verdean Studies program are both interested in expanding our outreach to the sub-Saharan African area, and also our Middle East and North Africa program, which was recently renamed as MENA program, is also very interested in extending our outreach to North Africa as well. So I think we have a lot of faculty here who are doing outstanding work on international studies. And so there could be a part to think about that. The other advantage that Bridgewater has is the emphasis on leadership institutes. So the Cape Verdean Institute and also the Mandela Washington programs have been devoted to engaging young leaders of the world for civic engagement and for international understanding. So hopefully in the future, we can develop similar programs as the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program, and to expand our network. And if Sakuna, you have any ideas, please feel free to contact me, and we can develop some planning in the future.
I do. I do, but I'll hit you up.
We have two questions, Mr. President. Do you think that the fund for capacity building projects and joint programs will be changed on the Middle East with this new administration? This is coming from journalist Abdul Wahish from Jordan Price Foundation.
I don't have any specific information about that particular program, but I do think that the Biden administration will analyze every one of these programs carefully. And if that particular program, and I'm not familiar with it, if that particular program has been around for a while, you know, kind of pre-Trump administration, is a very good likelihood that it will endure. I don't think there's been very many new programs under the Trump administration in the Middle East. I'm not aware of that particular one. But if it makes sense and you think it's worthwhile, maybe we can exchange some information, and we'll we'll let our congressional delegation know about the importance of it from your perspective and from our perspective as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. This question probably to you, and also Jen probably can chime in. Would African students have individual access to these kinds of virtual exchange programs down the road, even without the pandemic?
Sure, John.
Sure. So if I understood this question correctly, I think this came from Ink Young. Are you asking in terms, are you asking our African colleagues on the call that if they perceive that there's access in Africa to our programs?
No, so from our side.
Okay. Well, from our side, certainly, yes. So we are working hard right now. Mike and I actually are working collaboratively in an effort to launch virtual exchange opportunities that we're piloting with our partners initially. So we're trying to identify 1 to 2 courses within each of our colleges that we can package a menu of virtual exchange opportunities. So piloting those with our partners to see how that goes first. And I would imagine, sure, we could certainly open those up across the board, to any student who would be interested in participating. So, but I think Ink Young is asking, what is the access like in Africa to online virtual opportunities? I would imagine maybe particularly in rural areas outside of cities. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes.
Okay. Any other question from, I don't see on the chat, other questions, please, to Mr. President.
I think there was a question here too as well, Jabbar, about what advice does BSU have for universities in Jordan in crisis management, particularly around COVID-19, especially in funding stability? So President Clark, that might be initially for you, and I can certainly talk about the other support services that we provided.
Well, first of all, I think it would be really helpful to all of us if we were to get together to compare notes on our crisis response during the COVID-19 pandemic. We do that here in Massachusetts. Public and private institutions do get together very often. I gather with the other state university presidents a couple of times a week. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we gathered every day to compare notes, but we have not really compared notes with any of our international partners. I'd be very interested to know what that response looks like and if we could learn from each other. The funding piece is probably the most difficult because it's, it's something we're all struggling with. So, I guess what I would say there is the advocacy that we've used here in Massachusetts, particularly through public higher ed, has been for state leaders, that we cannot afford as a state, and we certainly cannot afford as a nation to leave a generation of learners behind. So you have to fund higher ed, you have to fund K-12 in order to not have students stop out and stay out or not continue at all in the progression of their education. You'll do severe damage, short and long term, to your country's economy. Never mind social and cultural implications if you fail to fund. I will let you know that that's worked. Working with our faculty and our staff, all of the segments of higher ed just achieved level funding through our state government. And that's a very large victory. And I do think the Biden administration understands the importance of those investments as well. Also, and this is really something just to prepare yourself for the future. We have been focused on private fundraising at Bridgewater for many years. We've been able to build up our endowment we just crossed $50 million. My goal before I retire is to get it to 100 million. Those funds, which mostly come from our alums or from friends or companies that hire our students, those funds do provide a bit of a hedge against these kind of crises. We've been able to utilize private funds to support our students with student emergency funds. We've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for our students and coupled that with federal funding as well. And the last piece for us, and this is multi-year, we've built up our reserves, and I don't know if our international partners are able to do that. But when I became president, our reserves were $4 million, but our operating budget's $200 million. the rule of thumb is you should have 10% of your operating in reserve. So for us, that's 18 to 20 million. I started with 4. I was able to build that up over my presidency to 15 million, almost 16. We've been able to utilize those reserves to not have to lay off or furlough or do any damage whatsoever to our faculty and staff. That's been really important. We've also been able to keep our fees level all during this period. I haven't had to actually use our reserves, but believe me, our decisions are well informed by knowing that we have reserves available to us. We call them rainy day funds here in Massachusetts. And believe me, it's raining, it's pouring. So those are 3 strategies that we've deployed in addition to, budget saving strategies. I would love to, if there was an opportunity through the Minnick Institute, I'd love to compare notes with some of our international partners as to how we've approached together the pandemic.
Yes, Mr. President, we have journalist Khalid Shukran from Jordan Press Foundation has a question. And before I give him the floor, we have Wankai, Mike, and Jen. We have actually a plan to invite our partners, presidents, vice presidents, and group them because we have so many of them. We cannot put them in one meeting, and we're going to discuss these things. And now you are actually charging us to do that also efficiently. We would do that, Mr. President. Khalid.
Thank you, Dr. Jabbar. Thank you, Mr. President, my friend, Dr. Fred. Thank you, Dr. Jabbar. Thank you, Winkai. It's a good opportunity to see you again in a difficult situation that the world going through it in this time. It is our honor in Jordan Press Foundation to have good cooperation with your university, and we looking forward to continue our cooperation in near future. That means we should continue our exchange program and the other programs that we talk about it before. I'm very happy, Mr. President, to see you in this time, and looking forward to see you in our country, in Jordan. That's why. So I'm inviting you and your team to visit our country in near future, please.
Khaled, you are my friend, and it's good to see you. And I look forward to being able to see you in person in Jordan. Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Okay.
Thank you.
Question. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Khalid. Questions. We have about 8 minutes. Any of our colleagues from Africa? Yes, Mr. Hassan Al-Jaber. Yes, unmute yourself, please. You still, yes, go ahead.
It's okay. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. It's great to join such a webinar. My name is Hassan Al-Jabbar, Iraqi American. I live in Houston, Texas. Actually, this engagement program, great. And my question is, how much are Iraq is involved in that? What are your plan? Especially now we have Dr. Taha, they are there over there in Iraq, Dr. Taha and Dr. Ban are with us. So how much you are working to oriented this engagement program to the Iraqi people? So students, they are thirsty for this opportunity to come over to United States to have their education in your university. Practically, where is Iraq in your engagement program?
Yes, I will just steal this opportunity from our speaker. Mr. President, and I would say actually our engagement with Iraq is very good because we have a partnership with the Hawk University in Kurdistan. Also, we had a partnership with Kufa University, and these two universities are doing. And we have constantly we have visitors from Iraq and the Minister of Higher Education. Iraq has special now circumstances, and they categorize different, based on the ranks. And I don't know what ranks they are going about. So they are slow in responding to our request to work with us. But Iraq is in the equation, and I think Mr. President actually was there in Kurdistan a while ago, and with our also former executive director of the Center for International Engagement, Dr. Michael Krizanik, and myself and other delegates. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know if, Mr. President, you have addition to what I said.
No, except I remember all those conversations and visits very well. And I think that perhaps that the online environment presents some additional opportunities that we had not considered prior to the pandemic, Jabbar. So Jabbar is our leader when it comes to our work in the Middle East, and particularly in Iraq. And we'll look to him along with Wing Kaito for guidance. But I do want to apologize for having to leave. I'm chairing a Chamber of Commerce meeting in a couple of minutes, so I do have to drop off. I just want to say it's been an honor and a pleasure to see all of you and to be with you. Be well, and all of you stay safe. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it, and have a safe day and good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We have a question. Jen, I think you see that question. You received. Oh, this is okay. So, Dr. Meddu, you want to speak about this, the U.S. Department of Education, just in 2 minutes? Is it?
Hi.
Yeah.
I guess some of you are aware of the fact that we received close to $350,000 to be spent for the next 2 years. So we're going.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is about the MENA program, which includes Middle East and North African countries. So what we want to do is encourage student participation, faculty participation, and then community participation. So therefore, from Bridgewater State University, we're going to integrate students overseas, faculty overseas, and also like community overseas. So that is the goal. So in this goal, so we have some funding for, both ways for faculty to, travel, students to travel. So we have a lot of other opportunities that could carry forward. So we're looking forward to that. So I just want to let you know that. So anybody who has interest to do research in this area or have students who are interested to do Arabic learning, so this is open-ended. So I think Professor Jabbar is aware of it, so he can add more.
Thank you so much. And we have a few minutes. Any other questions from our journalists, the honorable journalist from Africa and the Middle East?
Dr. Jabbar, I'd just like to find out a little bit more about the formation of the organization that you just were speaking about earlier. You made an announcement around a coalition of some sort. If you can just elaborate a bit on that.
Yes, International Journalist Coalition will send the information. We'll send the information very soon in over the weekend to all of you. And if I don't have your email, please put it in the chat room so we can communicate with you. And we'll also send you the bylaws, and so we'll go from there. And this is we're gonna have a meeting probably within 2 weeks. To make sure that everybody is understanding what's the mission of this coalition. But it's the idea is to work with our international colleagues and friends and endorse international education, also address all the challenges. And as Wenkai mentioned and Mr. President mentioned, and also Jen highlighted, that we are working now as we speak with different countries, trying to develop this concept of COIL, which is collaborative on international online learning. That's COIL and virtual exchanges. So this is just to overcome the problem of travel restrictions and also the pandemic. We should not surrender. I mean, this is what we have in Bridgewater State University as a team, as a family. We don't accept to surrender. We're not going to surrender. We are creative, and we're trying to work collectively, really not to be selfish just about ourselves. That's why we invited you to talk today with us and with the president and with our associate to the provost, Dr. Wen Kai-tu, and also the associate director for the international.
Okay.
Any question? Any question?
Thank you.
It's possible to develop scientific.
Roger, could you unmute yourself, please?
Of Corona.
Yes, Roger, go ahead.
I already sent my question there in the chat. I think you may see.
Roger, do you see you can say your question.
I was like, I'm impressed with all the information I had here. I'm satisfied, and I was just asking the population of African students prior to the pandemic and currently at BSU.
Hi, Roger. I just popped the answer in the chat. So we currently have 25% of our students are from African countries right now, but the number is relative in relation to last year because our numbers have been impacted by COVID-19. So in comparison to last year, I would have to pull the data over time. And if it's something you're interested in, if you want to pop your email into the chat, we can get back to anybody who's interested in that data after the session.
Thank you, Roger Modi from Sawa Network, South Sudan. Thank you for the question. Last two questions.
Hi, Jabbar. Can I ask a question to
yes, of course
our fellows from Middle East and Africa?
Yes.
I raised the question and Jen answered from our side, but I'm really curious about your infrastructure conditions to promote virtual international exchanges down the road. Can we pursue this new model even after the pandemic? And do your students have enough access like our students do? I mean, learning at home, participating in this kind of webinar from their house. Do they have online access from their home?
So anyone from our journalists from Africa, please, or Middle East, could you jump on answer her question? Thank you. Do you have the capacity in your
okay.
Yes, Chol, go ahead.
Yeah, I was also thinking if Zikona will also jump in and answer that question, but I can answer from my perspective, from South Sudan perspective. Our internet connectivity on the African continent varies from country to country, like South Sudan, where I come from. I think the internet connectivity there is like 5% or even 2%, that means a lot of people are not able to access internet or to be able, to connect or get connected, with the rest of the world. So it's a very, very challenging phenomenon that we have in South Sudan and some parts of Africa. For example, like Sudan, that is neighboring us. We have Ethiopia, where you've been hearing of renewed, political unrest there. So it actually varies from country to country on the African continent. But I would be very glad to hear from Zikona, who is in South Africa. Like Southern Africa region, are believed to be better off in terms of the internet connection, and maybe also Roger, who who comes from South Sudan, as I am, also have.
Thank you, Charles. Okay.
Okay, can I, maybe I could respond?
Okay, go ahead.
Can I answer?
Sure.
Should I go ahead and answer,
Yes,
Dr.
go
Dubois?
ahead. And then I think Lilian has something. Go ahead, Zikana.
Okay. So I am a Zikana, so I'm based in South Africa. And a lot of you will already know that South Africa as a society is really unequal. So this pandemic presented a very difficult period, especially for tertiary institutions. I know that in our country, our higher education department had to at some point capacitate the universities to be able to send data to students. But you know that data costs in South Africa are ridiculously high. So there are those people who would ordinarily be able to get data, but if you move to rural areas, a group of friends and we began an organization, and during this time, we actually put some money together to assist a university which is struggling immensely during this time with connecting, because the alternative was to do everything online, but they were not able to because the students don't have access. Most of them come from rural areas in the outskirts. Connection is one thing, getting data is another thing. So it was really quite a thing. So we had a group of young professionals who put together some money to be able to assist, but that's just a drop in the ocean. So I think the pandemic, the way that it has affected every sphere, every sector, it was more so difficult in the academic space. So I'll tell you now that a lot of the universities are not even doing exams because it would be unfair, because a lot of the other students didn't have access to some of the lectures that were done online. So what they're trying to do now that we are over lockdown is they're trying to scrounge around and doing a continuous assessment as a way to assess the students' progress academically, which is also questionable. I mean, we could also debate that, whether that is enough to test whether somebody is good to go to the next year. So we have been struggling immensely on this side of the continent with academia and connection. So the pandemic has really put that at the fore around how that is going to be a major thing. I mean, we're in 2020. We shouldn't be getting connected online, should not be such a task, but that's where we find ourselves. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Lilian from Kenya, do you have the question?
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to look at response based on access to internet in Africa. Sorry, my name is Lilian, Impact Hub Media Kenya. Our focus is on solutions journalism, looking out for positive stories in Africa. So back to the question of internet, as my colleague from South Sudan mentioned, it varies from country to country. And I must say for Kenya, I mean, we have made very huge progress. I must say that we've made quite huge progress. I know numerous universities right now that have quickly adjusted to after COVID-19, and I personally have had first-hand experience of going through a whole orientation to classes to exams online without any problem. I know people are now in their second, third semester since COVID started very seamlessly. So I think the problem varies from country to country, but I must say we have come from, we've made huge steps. We are not where we were in early 2000. Thank you.
Thank you, Lilian. Thank you for your participation. Winka, you raise your hand.
Well, I'll wait until there's any last questions, because I just wanted to say something at the end.
Okay. So we have the last question. I want to be mindful of your time. It's late and where you come from. So any question from our journalists? Yes.
Maybe I should just add.
Yes, Roger, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I should add on what Shol was saying and what the other colleagues from Africa are saying. In Africa, yes, it varies from countries to countries, but also in South Sudan, the situation is much more difficult because actually not so many people, in fact, most people cannot even access electricity. power is a problem, and then the internet connectivity there for most people is 3G and below. So it's really difficult. But yeah, for me, I'm in Kenya. I've been here for some time now. So the internet is very, very good. It's very fast. So yeah, that's as far as South Sudan is concerned.
No, this is a legitimate concern, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, we should always talk about, digital divide, not just in this country. In this country now, we are facing this problem and trying to provide hotspots in different areas. So never mind in Europe. It's very nice to hear that some of the countries, they have the internet service, and also they can, overcome these circumstances. We need to do that, but collaboratively, we need to work together. I just would like to say, please take this opportunity to reconnect and enhance the connectivity among ourselves, because this is, I think, is a call is for all of us to start working on the international arena, international level. And I think if we can work collaboratively and also understand what conditions are being, kept us from doing what we want to do, I think will help us to open opportunities for you as journalists, for you as faculty, for you as librarian, for you as students, for you as general audience. And that's important. It is a collective call, but usually academia and media, in a good sense, lead the effort toward more opportunities. Wankai.
Thank you, Jabbar. I don't know if Hadi had a question or not. He was
Hadi, please. I'm sorry if I miss Hadi. Hadi, journalist Hadi Shobaki from Jordan Press Foundation. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
You have a question, ask it in Arabic. I'll translate it for you.
Mr. President of the university and Dr. Jabbar and all your colleagues. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Your audio is not clear.
My question.
Yes. Go ahead.
How is it possible to develop
Hadi, you have a problem in the audio, so won't you write it in the chat?
Between America, Bridgewater, and Arabic. How is it possible? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the question?
I think he might be formulating it in the chat. Hadi, if you could hear us, your connection was unstable, so it was hard to hear your audio. So if you want to pop your question into the chat, that might be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. While he's communicating his question in whatever language, we'll be happy to receive.
We'll take the question.
What do you have?
Yeah, I think, again, I wanted to emphasize that we are committed to open our doors to international exchange in all forms, including virtual and physical interactions. When this world is safe again, we're definitely looking forward to sending our students and faculty to different parts of the world, and also welcoming scholars and students to come to our country. And I really wanted to also emphasize that we have faculty here who are from some of the programs that you might be interested in. And I think the Journalist Alliance is just the first step. And obviously a lot of attention has been paid to the study of the Department of Media Studies and Communication Studies in our university. We have lots of resources in our university in the field of communication studies. I also want to emphasize that Dr. Kim asked a question, and Dr. Kim is from the coordinator of the sustainability program. he started a project on the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals over the last few years. So he's a very committed member to talking about environmental issues in the world. And also with Ms. Cindy Lee from the library, who's also committed to expanding our resources from our library to all over the world. And then we have other faculty who just signed off, Dr. Madhu Rao in the MENA program, and Dr. Megan Healy Clancy, who is the director of our African Studies program. Dr. Ryan Nabrosi, who's just signed off, who wants to bring the study of languages to the university, so to emphasize the teaching of whether it's a Swahili in Africa, you know, or Arabic in the Middle East region. And so there's a lot of interest in exchanging with your students and with the you know, community in the world. So I hope that we can continue our exchanges in the future in all forms. So this is just the first program. I look forward to seeing all of you in future programs.
Thank you for our, this is the last statement for our African friends and also for the Middle East. What we offer in Munich Institute for Global Engagement, 7 programs. We offer African Studies program, we offer Canadian Studies program, MENA, Middle East and North Africa Studies program, Irish Studies program, Global Religious Studies, Latin America and Caribbean Studies, and of course, that's 7, I think. So, you are welcome to get more information about these programs because we are going global, as I said, and the president also highlighted that. Our gates are open for undergraduate and graduate students in terms of the relation between journalism and public relations. The Department of Communication Studies is embarking on a huge project to introduce a master's degree in public relations. And also we have other programs related to the marketing. So, you know, as a journalist, is not just limit yourself in writing and reporting. You need to also to know how to deal with leadership, how to use the PR as a way to connect with the leaders, local leaders, international leaders. I would like to thank you all for personally honoring my invitation, especially a special thanks to all journalists and media people who really honor my invitation, and also to my colleagues, faculty, librarians, and especially for some of our students, they were able to join us, and also to Mr. President Fred Clark for his very busy gentleman. You know, he has so many meetings in the day, but he gave us his time. For my friend Jan Curry, she is also on short notice. She come in, and of course, you know, it is not really just a word, but a big word to my friend and my colleague, Dr. Wankaito, for his support, and also Mike Sandy is from Director of Study Abroad, and also again to our incredible administrator, Susan Williams, who deal with all these communication and publicity. Thank you so much. We will send you the recording. Thank you, Brian, for providing the caption, so we ensure the accessibility for those people with some disability. Thank you, and always remember to wear a mask, wash your hands, keep a physical distancing to protect yourself, your family, and your neighbors and your country. Thank you so much again, and have a great night if you are night, and a great afternoon, and we'll see you some other times. Thank you.